Hello, my name is Doug Leasure. Thank you for joining me for another training session for Active Planner. Hey, we're going to hit a very quick subject this morning, looking at the topic of for our users of the open integration. We're going to look at the imports and export scripts, where we have the option to use the parameters in the import and export scripts. So let's go ahead and take a look at what that would look like. So let me just go ahead and open up one of our existing import scripts. We'll just maintain that and open it up, and I will go ahead and create the name, or just create a second copy of this. Okay, so we're importing actual balances, and we're going to create a new one where we're using the actual balance import, where we are using the parameters. Let me go ahead and save that, new copy of that, and now we can modify that to our heart's content. Okay, so let me go ahead and open this up, and we'll take a look at what we're doing here. As is typical, you have the data source tab, where you can specify the source of the data we're importing, the query builder, the options tab, and then the parameters tab, which is hardly ever used, and that's what we're going to talk about today. Let's start first by looking at our query builder. So we're selecting the account code, the net change, current balance, and a balance date, and from our GL balance table. And if I test this or run the query, you can see that the data that's returned is for a balance date of 2004, 5, 6, 7. Okay, it's for all years, and that's true because in our where clause we haven't specified anything. Our where clause is empty. Okay, so typically within the general ledger, we close the fiscal years and move on to the next year. There's no real reason that we would need to import the data from the closed periods. Those actual balances are not changing. So what we typically like to do then is go ahead and in our where clause, go ahead and limit it to the current fiscal year. Okay, and it's very easy for us to do if we just take the year of the balance date. So where the year of the balance date is equal to our current fiscal year. So let's go ahead and make a small modification and test it. And you'll see that it works much faster because we're trading data for just the current fiscal year. Okay, so it's much faster, much more efficient. Okay, but in doing this by hard coding a year in here, this would require that every year we come back and we maintain this query. Now this is a fairly simplistic query, so it really wouldn't be that hard to change it from 2007 to 2008 every fiscal year. So not a big deal in this one. But of course, some of our queries during the imports and especially the exports can be fairly challenging and robust. So let's take a look at the one of the features we have, which is to use the parameters, where I can actually enter the value that I care about here, and then actually I get an opportunity to modify that every time I run the query. So let me show you what that would look like. So we start by going to the parameters tab, choosing parameter 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1 through 10. We have 10 options. 10 very different parameters we can enter here. Okay, so I'm entering 2007 for parameter 1. So back here on my where clause, instead of hard coding the 2007, I come over here and say that I want to use the parm variable, P-A-R-M, and then we'll tell it which parameter number we're using. So I'm just going to double click on this, and you can see that we could easily select between any of the 10 parameters. We've entered our value in parameter 1, so we'll just choose parameter 1 here, hit the OK, and you can see it enters parm 1 as a variable. All right, let's go ahead and test it and see what that looks like. So if I do a test, looking at the select statement, our where clause says where balance date equals 2007. Now notice it came in as a string, so depending on your data source, we may have to use a convert function to convert our 2007 to a number, or conversely, the year of the balance date to a text. Okay. Again, depending on your data source. In the case of SQL Server, it's actually going to do the implicit conversion for us. And if I run that, you'll see that yes, indeed, we're getting, again, data for just the current fiscal year as defined in our parameter tab. All right, the other thing you need to know is that on our main tab, we have an option that says prompt for parameters. So every time we run the script, it will start by bringing up the option to allow us to modify any of our parameters on the import script. So let me save this, and then we'll run it. You'll see what that looks like. So I'm going to hit the run button, choosing our actual balance using parameters. Run this, and you'll see that the first thing it does is to open up the entire maintenance screen. So I can go to the parameters tab and change this from 2007 to 2008 or whatever we would want to enter there. Now for our Epicor E9 customers, because it brings up the entire maintenance screen, this is a good thing for you as well, where you may want to change your data source. It's something you do on a fairly regular basis, moving from test to pilot to production. So you can also use this parameters option for that, so you can switch your data source every time you run the import or export. Okay, and then if we go ahead and test it, you'll see that it actually runs for the defined fiscal year. Okay, here in the SQL statement, you see that it would process for fiscal year 2008. All right, and I'll take a second and show you then that this capability works in the export script as well in a very, very similar way. So you can see in our export scripts we also have the parameters feature and the same parm variable. So a great function, great feature. Go ahead and take advantage of this. Use it in your imports and your exports. And I think you'll find that very helpful. All right. Well, thank you, and I look forward to working with you in a future training session.